Hey there. It's Tuesday, March 25th in the afternoon. I have recently had to change my streaming schedule from twice daily, Monday through Friday, down to only once daily, Monday through Friday, but that's because I'm doing some part-time development work to assist a local consultant who needs a little bit of extra help getting through all the code that they need to write. So I'm more than happy to help them out with that. They're more than happy to pay me for it. So everybody wins. I'm going to continue doing this daily live coding stream and talking through what I do so that hopefully somebody somewhere tunes in and sees what I'm working on and how I'm doing it and says, hey, that resonates with me. I want to dig deeper and maybe learn something from me. That'd be awesome. So I'm building an application to help me at my D&D table, and I'm getting ready to release this as a product. Actually, I expect to go live to the public within the next week or so. Knock on wood. And I wanted to get the edit capabilities in here so that not only can you generate a random NPC like this, and you can just keep rolling the dice until you get something that looks interesting. And a goblin ruffian, 16 years old, female, this could be interesting. We could either go ahead and just edit and fill out the appearance and personality and all that stuff manually using the new edit capability, or we could ask the AI to just generate those details for me. And this NPC actually looks like she might be a lot of fun. So I'm going to save her. And then of course we can come in here and tweak any of this stuff that we feel like we want to. All right. So I've gotten it so that I can put the different editable fields that I've marked through the edit view models into groups for the edit form. And I've gotten it so that I can reorder them any which way I like. And I can even order these groups. But having the ability scores stretch all the way across this horizontal space, that feels really silly. And it might be advantageous to maybe have these take up about maybe half the width. So we don't have that yet. And I've been talking with my buddy Claude, who is the name of the thinking brain behind GitHub Copilot that sits over here in the right-hand panel. And we're gonna start to work on adding support for this, or for that layout customization right now. Let's bring up the Object Explorer and we'll go into the UI, because layout customization is absolutely part of the UI's area of responsibility. We've got attributes, and I'm going to put this field width support enum into the same folder as the attributes. And we're going to call it a class, but actually let's see if it'll give us an enum. New file, enum, there it is. Look at that. Enum, field width. All right, so we've got field width. I'm just going to grab this stuff and paste it in here. Pop that out to the edge, and there we go. So what I think I want to do here, and I'm gonna spin the app up again. I stopped it prematurely. When we are in a mobile scenario, let me refresh. And we'll pop in here. So when we're in a mobile scenario, I think almost everything except for the numbers should probably be full width. There's a few things that can be fine, but I think when we're at screen width, we can play around with the widths on the text areas. But when we're shrunk down here, we should probably be a little bit more circumspect about how much we let these fields shrink. And I see that I've got some width issues here as well. We'll address those. I'll get those dialed in later, because iterating back and forth on CSS details is not very fun. I do want to see about maybe opening this thing on an iPhone 15 and seeing what it looks like. And of course, this will become more important later on. Here we go. It's loading Safari. It's logging me into localhost. And it's just giving me all this security stuff because I'm running a local developer certificate. And let's see what this edit form looks like on a iPhone form factor. I'm curious. So let's load up Grizzle Snaptooth. All right, yeah, this is kind of a mess. I'll have to get this stuff dialed in before I push it live, because it's okay, but it just looks sloppy and amateurish. Meh. Don't love it. Okay, my curiosity has been satisfied. I'm going to close the simulator and I'll dial this stuff in later. Let's focus on making some decisions. Now, the field placement attribute, well, let's get the mechanics in place first, and then we'll start playing with styles. Excuse me, the field width, we have to update the field placement attribute. Here we go, field width. And just the default value, if we don't set it explicitly, it's going to take up the entire entire horizontal space allotted by the form container. Now I've got the form container constrained so that it doesn't take up all this horizontal space here. As a matter of fact, I might constrain it even further, because that feels a little bit too wide for my eyes. Like, as far as eye tracking goes, I think I ought to do that right now. That is in the components, common object editor form, and the CSS for this guy. And let's see here, max width 800 pixels. I think I'm going to knock this down to like 600. Save that. And unfortunately, because this is component scoped CSS, I have to rebuild before it'll take effect. But there's no need to rebuild the entire solution. I can just rebuild the Blazor project itself. which of course rebuilds all of its dependencies, but whatever. All right, now I can rerun the application server. Off it goes. Hit refresh. And let's see what we get. I feel like that's not been contracted yet. Now, sometimes Safari will refuse to refresh when CSS changes happen, like fully refresh from its server when CSS changes happen. So let's see what's what. Yeah, it's still elements. I want to inspect this element in particular. And see, that's 883 pixels wide. Let's find out why. It's our form group container. Form group container, form group container. Let's take a look at form grid. So the width on this guy on form group container is 100%. And that's because I want the individual form groups to use all of the horizontal space that's allotted by this container, this form grid. And its width is 75%, max width 1200. So I altered the wrong CSS class, like a silly head. So form grid here, max width 600. I'm a doof. Because I'm using media breakpoints for larger screens and smaller screens. 60%, min width. I'm going to knock this down to, oh gosh. I'm going to open up Edge real quick. Because for just general inquiries, I don't necessarily want to knock out the context in Copilot's stuff. And I'm just going to ask Bing, what are the standard web page breakpoint measurements for determining for use when building responsive sites? 320 pics and below, older smartphones, small devices, newer smartphones, tablets and smaller laptops, standard tablets, medium-sized devices. So I'm going to go 768 pics. I feel like that's about right. 768px. Because I think that's about what I've got on my iPad Air, which I don't have downstairs with me, but I'll make sure that I've got a simulator for that installed before too long. All right, let's rebuild. And I'm going to rebuild the whole darn thing this time. The max width will be 1200 pixels. I'm going to set the max width on this to be 600 pixels. 700. Save. And of course I have to rebuild it again because, you know, I second guessed myself. It's okay. Eep! CSS! Hey, what's up, Rev? I haven't seen you in forever, bud. Oh, damn it. I gotta run the app. Here we go. Browser tools will let me simulate different dimensions. I get it. I get it, dude. It's been a while since you've seen this app. It's evolved significantly. I still just have this one vertical slice that I'm still iterating on, but got some animations, some big chunky buttons, and right now I'm working on iterating on the edit form. Yeah, September 9 of 12, my wife really hated the blue, and just she bothered me on it until I fixed it because it just looked too damn much like Windows XP. So yeah, I took her advice and we found a much better palette, and yeah. So yeah, I've been just iterating on it here and there. I really ought to shrink that stuff up so that it's closer to the middle too. But yeah, so today I'm working on getting some customization of the way these edit fields paint out to the screen, because Rev, you know me, I'm crazy, and I wasn't going to be satisfied with just hard coding a Blazor edit form. This no. Oh, this. Yeah, I got to constrain the width of the detail viewer. That's way too wide for desktop stuff. But I wasn't going to be satisfied with just building like a townsperson edit view. So instead, I decided to get fancy, because I'm not always going to just have townspeople that can be generated with this system. I wanted something dynamic through inherited. You're going to roll your eyes at me here in a second. I'll just very quickly review what I've done here. Object services, edit models. So let's take a look at the edit townsperson view model real quick. So it inherits the base townsperson, the domain model. And the only things that I override in here are the properties that I want to decorate with the custom attributes that control which properties are editable, a little bit of the display details for how they get converted into form elements. And now I'm working on field placement, which allows me to group the properties into sections in the edit form, apply what order they render, and now I'm going to start adding in the ability to dictate how wide each individual field that gets placed on the form will be in relation to the width of the form area. And this is all declarative, living in a subclass of the domain model. So none of this stuff, none of this code lives outside of the UI project. My townsperson doesn't have any of that metadata. In fact, I could probably 86 this iEditable thing. That's something I added, or I stood up a week and a half ago when I started going down this path. But this is pure domain level stuff here until I get down here. This editor caption, I do need to move that. But yeah. But otherwise, the edit form that you see here, it's basically just a recursive reflection thing that analyzes the properties along the complex model tree and identifies the fields that need to get painted. And I've got is dirty detection. I can reset. And yes, it does write back. So functionally, it's all there. But the UX is not where I want it yet. So that's what I'm doing today. So we've updated the field placement attribute. Here it is. And then I need to add CSS with 2 breakpoints. Okay. So I'm going to need that CSS file right here. All right. I've focused the CSS file. I'm going to attach that enum. If it's still open, here we go. I've attached the enum. Here's how I want to slice the cake. We're going to have mobile as the default, class definitions for those CSS classes. We'll put the desktop overrides inside the media query on mobile. We're going to allow full, half, and third. Quarter will be redefined, or will be defined the same as half. Sixth will fall back to third. For desktop, we'll treat them as their names suggest. Bam! I will. I hear her roaming around out here. And sometimes she jumps into my stream, but I think she's probably watching Coverville today. Object editor form, raise your CSS for a new field width system. Existing code width, margin bottom 1 rem. That's a lot of margin bottom. Let's skip the margin bottom spec for now. 1 rem is way too much. Yeah, I'm going to let it apply. Boom. Now, I learned yesterday, Rev, that what I'm doing right now, where I'm basically acting as architect, tech lead, supervisor, and letting Copilot actually generate most of the code, and then I double check it after the fact and do all the testing and so on. I learned that that is what they call vibe coding, and it upset me greatly. I really, really, really don't like that term because it feels really reductive. Um, it makes it sound like anybody could do it. And yes, anybody with practice could do it. But to get production ready results that don't fall over under the first little bit of exceptional circumstance or a light breeze's worth of user pressure, I I feel like not just anybody's going to be able to do that. Heck, I've been doing this for 25 years. I still have doubts that I am capable of doing it. Oh yeah, using AI to rubber duck and write the boring business docs. Yep. Um, I've found that it has been incredibly powerful to actually have it generate a lot of boilerplate code and make tweaks and so on and so forth for me. All right. Oh, absolutely. Well, it isn't necessarily always wrong. It kind of goofed up this stuff, but only because we haven't applied any of these any of the rules for this stuff yet. Now, field full, form grid, form group, input text, form group label. All right, form grid. Did it stuff things into a second media query? Oh, you goofball. Let me grab this. Cut that. Zap that. Spin down here. All right, let's see what it's doing here. Field half, field quarter, field third, field sixth, field full. Okay, good. Now, because these are now looking goofy as hell, I gotta take a look at this inspect element here. I'm using GitHub Copilot, but the backing model that I'm running is Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Okay, input type equals text, form group, text, and let's see here. Input, what has knocked your width all out of whack? Okay, form group, task host, feature host, root. All right. We need to take a look at the anatomy of how these things are being built and laid out on the screen. Okay, mobile first, sensible defaults, gap for consistent spacing, yeah. Field width enum. Field width enum already exists, is incorporated into the field placement attribute. However, after we applied those settings, most of my form fields squished down to be smaller than I'd expect them to be without having applied any of these new classes. Let's make sure that all fields on this form 100% wide unless we override with a field width class. Basically, that's me saying, what did you do, Ray? Close the attribute definition. Gonna need edit field open in a minute. Forms default to full width. Look at the CSS. Let's modify the CSS to enforce full width by default. Okay. Form group, form grid, form group, column, gap, form group label. Okay. Whoops, I scrolled too far. All right, let's apply this and see what happens. Unfortunately, iterating on component scope CSS means a whole lot of stopping, rebuilding, and restarting. That's a bit of a drag, but I understand why it happens. All right, stop, rebuild. Clean up because of my drinking problem. Yes, that was an airplane reference. And we'll restart the app. Refresh the page. And let's see if we get a woohoo or a wah-wah. Woohoo! Back to normal. Good stuff. All right, stop that. Okay. Default behavior is back to full width unless we say otherwise in the view model attributes. So let's shrink that thing out of the way. Okay, edit field does not have the width property. We're going to need to add that. Group order is there. Let's pop that in. Honestly, Rev, Claude Sonnet is pretty banging, man. Oops. Gotta bring that namespace in. Browser dev tools. You know what? Safari isn't really friendly for that. It's really, really not friendly for that. And I don't often care for dealing with Edge. Be very, very careful. I've seen Claude really screw up a class file very, very badly. I've learned to make a lot of small commits. All right, update build fields method to set the width. Over on edit model. Let's make sure it's going to do this to the right file. What are you doing? Quit jumping around. Yep, edit model. Open this guy up. Do its edits. Placement width, field width full. keep, and we'll save all. Finally, update object editor form razor to apply the width classes. Go to definition. Go to the definition on this. Oh, look at that. Cool. Yeah, GPT-4 is not nearly as comfy with code as Claude Sonnet, I've discovered. No, I mean like the 4.0 or 4.0 eyes or whatever the heck they're called might be better. Like those reasoning models that they debuted late December, early January. Keep. Save. Save. Okay, we've just made a whole pile of code changes. And would I like to test this with some specific field width assignments in edit townsperson view model? Yes. Just a sec. I'll apply some. All right, where is edit townsperson view model? Man, I miss having rows for tabs. Edit model. I gotta pop open the edit townsperson view model. Okay, let's see here. Full name. Let's go with half on name. And then for appearance, I want full. Story details. Let's play with half on those. I'm just going to pop this over. Field width. What are you doing? Full. Save. All right, rebuild. We'll see what happens here in a second because I've set the full name and the appearance fields to be half width. And it's grumping about something. Field placement attribute does not have a parameter named field width. Oh, bullshit. Oop, pardon my language. Where's this nonsense coming from? Here we go. Oh, it's not in the constructor? That feels off. Yeah, but I post these over to YouTube, Rev. I prefer to keep my language PG-13. Okay, field width, not field width. Whatever. All right. At least now I know that I had just misnamed things. Okay, let's rebuild again. when I'm not recording and not live and I'm just muttering to myself, the air turns blue. I'd make the Witcher ask if I was okay. I don't think I bring my laptop into a body of water with me unless I wanted to do the Pikachu, finish it with Thunderbolt. Yeah, if Geralt of Rivia ever overheard me writing code, he'd be like, dude, you okay? Calm down. All right, so full name is half width. And just, I don't like how it tucked up onto the header line. So let's see what's going on with the component up here. So H4 class, group header, group name. All right. And I'm just going to add field dash full to that. Code changes were successfully applied. I think it's being overly optimistic, and no, holy cow, it didn't lie to me. Look at that. And now full name is half width. Now I know darn well that that will not carry through to changing attribute values. So field width dot half. Now just purely for giggles, half. I'm going to see if I can tuck character appearance up on the same line as the character name. So I kind of want to see how it looks. It might look terrible. But we're going to fool around and find out. Because that's what making software actually involves. It's about 70% knowing what you're doing and about 30% fooling around and finding out. And that looks like dog butt. I don't like it. That's really, really ugly. Yes, FAFO development. So over here on the editor form Razor, property path, field UI label, and I'm going to wrap this in a span. Class equals pop that there, small class equals additional context, and I want to grab that. And oh, no, 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 because that'll cut the horizontal space within the form group subdivision in half, and it's just going to get stupid looking. So, field full. Save. Because these fractions are always relative to their parent. All right. Now, let's see if this improves anything at all. I'm skeptical. No. Still looks like butt. I really don't like the way that those are back and forth like that. And when I shrink the screen down even smaller, that's blech. Don't like it at all. And what that tells me is the name. We can leave name at half, but appearance, that has to be full. Save. Now, our story details, on the other hand, field width, half. These, I'm going to try at half. I'm going to pop over to the razor, and instead of doing this stuff over here, well, no, this should work. That should work okay. I'm using Flexbox. I prefer Flexbox. Only because that's the first of the two that I had taught myself first, and I haven't bothered learning grid yet. Flexbox was enough of an uphill battle to figure out the basics of it, and I didn't want to muddy my head up with using the new CSS grid layout. I'll get to it eventually, but it's not been a priority. All right. Now let's see what this does to the story details, or the narrative details section down below. Now that I've shrunk all of those text areas down to be half width fields. Let's make it as big as it'll get. Pop into the editor. And here's our full name. We're at half width. That looks all right. Our detailed appearance looks okay. And these look all right because I don't have a ton of space or anything like that. Now, one thing that I do want to change is I want to add a line break. And Hot Reload says it's going to respect that. Huh. This I can live with. I can live with that quite nicely. Yeah, I rather like that. Now, on mobile, and we're just going to do cheesy mobile here. That looks like dog butts. Before I start chasing that and refining that stuff, I need to go into services, edit models, and I need the NPC stats 5e view. And I'm going to come in here, and because I'm going to be mucking around with attribute assignments, width, field width, 6th. And we're going to copy, and we're going to paste, and paste, and paste a few more times. Save that. Rebuild. Now what I'm hoping to see is those ability score fields all get squished up onto a single row. When we're in a full screen view, that is. And then when I squish it down to a the cheesy version of the mobile view, I'm basically just going to crank the window width down to as low as it'll go. I'm hoping to see those reorganize themselves so that it is 2 rows of 3 stats on each row. Not quite right there. Not quite. See, unless we're full screened here, we wrap. And I don't want to do that. And we've got some flashes of WTF unstyled content here. Okay. I think for 6th, and we can start tweaking this stuff up. But before I start tweaking that, not bad. Not bad. I think what I'm going to do, I want to see the width on this guy real quick. Just to eyeball it, it's 186 by 32. And then when we splash it out to full width, it's 116 by 32. I'm a cheat. So field width 6th, 33 1/3 minus 0.33 rem. Now, if the max width of this is 700 pixels, then 1/3 of this I'm going to set to 125. Save. 1/2 and 1/4. I'm going to set to 45%. And actually, you know what? I'm going to go for this V instead of, I think it had 33, right? I'm going to go to 25%. And we're going to go, yeah, field full is fine. Now, down here in our media query, field full, we don't need to override. Field half, 50%. I'm going to take this to 45. Field third, I'm going to go to 30. Because I want some more gutter around this stuff. I'm going to go to 20 for quarter. And field sixth, I'm going to take it down to 12. Actually, I'm going to take it down to 10. Save. Now, that's component scoped, so we got to rebuild the whole darn thing. And then this is the last thing I'm going to do before I say thank you for joining me. And I'm going to do all this CSS fiddling on my own, because that's not very informative. But wrong keystroke combination. I almost hit Command Q and torched out of Visual Studio. That would have been a silly thing to do. But here's our app. Here's edit. Okay, those are a little bit too itty bitty. I got to fix up that spacing quite a lot. Here's our 2 rows of 3, which is exactly what I want to see. I think in a mobile view, these guys need to be, I think I need to specify that text areas are full width on mobile, no matter what, regardless of what I specify in the declarative stuff, because those are itty bitty, and the experience of editing those on a phone is going to be terrible. But otherwise, this is shaping up. It looks like a can of bruised butts right now. But I feel like with a little bit of with a good bit of tweaking and a little bit more massaging of how everything renders out and fixing up all of this wasted vertical space in here, I think we're going to have a pretty darn solid, dynamically built edit form that I can then add to other domain models like venues, the places that these NPCs live, work, and play at, maybe other points of interest, towns, so on and so forth, without having to write a dedicated edit screen for those things. And that makes me pretty darn happy. Like anytime I need to accept user input, I just have to inherit the domain model, decorate the override and decorate the properties to declare how I want it to paint out on the form, and then I run the app and we're good. That feels pretty all right to me. Probably drives UI designers crazy. But for somebody whose primary interest is in churning out features, and as long as the edit forms and stuff are not hideous and easy to use, it's good enough for me, man. So Rev, it's great to see you again, man. Don't be such a stranger if you're able to. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon, and until next time, take care of yourselves. Happy coding. Bye now.